5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Sofa Club is live.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Peccadillo Sofa Club. I'm Sean McGovern, and I'm one of the programming team with Fringe, Queer Film and Arts Fest. And I hope you all have enjoyed your moment in the reads. And tonight, we are very happy to welcome the filmmaking talent for an extended Q&A. No usher is going to encourage us to get out or anything before they sweep the place. So I want to say hello, Finland. This is London calling.
Hello.
And have a big welcome to the director of the
Hello.
Mikko Makela. Hello, Mikko.
Hello. Thanks for having me, and thanks for watching the film.
Our pleasure. And we have their two hunky stars. We have the wonderful Janne Puustinen here. Hello, Janne.
Hey.
Big wave. And we have our hirsute hunk, Boodi Kabbani is also here. Hello, Boodi.
Hello, Sean. Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching the film, and thank you for having me.
And what excellent timing with Midsummer almost approaching. I think you haven't had a nighttime in days, weeks in Finland, have you?
No, not really.
No.
In weeks, definitely. But I love it. I personally love it.
It's one of my favorite things about Finland, definitely, the summer night.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Because, here in London, it's 9:15 and it's still light outside, and you guys are 2 hours ahead, and it's like,
pretty bright.
Yeah, it's pretty bright. It's pretty bright.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Mikko, thank you so much for writing and directing such a great film. And, I watched it again in time for the Q&A, and I didn't even have to write questions down because there's so much you can really talk about, and we're going to get into that. And I kind of just want to start with you a little bit before we move on to the actors. So you're normally based in London, is that right?
Yes, yeah. I've been in the UK since I was 18, so coming on to 13 years.
Yeah, but you are born and raised in Finland.
Yes.
And this is, I just think when we think about, regions of the world in which LGBT stories come from, the thing is that we have many types of kind of underrepresented nations. And maybe people don't kind of realize that just because you're in, Northern Europe doesn't mean that you are, you have it covered. I mean, we actually had a couple of films in a couple of years. We had Tom of Finland, and we had A Moment in the Reeds that kind of came out around the same time. Isn't that right?
Yes, same year.
So that must have been kind of a rarity in Finnish cinema to have these two films.
Absolutely, because I mean, personally, I was always very, growing up sort of disappointed and surprised as well with time that there hadn't been any queer films. We'd had some queer characters, of course, as supporting roles, but before this, nothing that would really actually focus on same-sex love. So and whilst Finland, is probably thought of as a fairly progressive country internationally, and likes to think of itself as quite progressive, that representation in cinema was very much lacking, and that's something that we really wanted to address with A Moment in the Reeds.
So obviously you said you've been in the UK for 13 years. Did you always know that you wanted to set a film in Finland? Was that important to you?
No, to be honest, if you'd asked me about 10 years ago whether I'd make my first film in Finland, I would have said absolutely no way, and that I want to work abroad and want to have very little to do with the country. But it's funny how with the sort of added perspective of time and distance that I did then increasingly feel that I might have something to say about the country that hadn't been said in cinema. So it's something that surprised me as well. I hadn't really been planning for it at all.
Yeah. And I guess with a story like this, it's a very particular kind of story because it addresses issues of refugees and asylum seekers. And I imagine that this isn't the kind of film you would have been able to make unless you had the right actors for it. So what came first? Did the script come first, or did you meet the actors? Did you know the actors before you started?
No, so it was I wanted to do it in a very collaborative fashion and work with the so-called scriptment. So I was very much inspired by by a few American filmmakers like the late Lynn Shelton and Joe Swanberg, Drake Doremus, who have made a great body of work of films that are often labeled, under the category of mumblecore, but films that are quite improvisational, based, sort of to some extent constructed around the actors, and with overlap between the characters and the actors in a very loose improvisational style, very much based in the contemporary world, in contemporary situations. So I wanted to make a film with that kind of method, and I decided that this would be that film. So when I first started casting the film, I just had really like a few lines about what the story would be, or about a paragraph. And as I was casting, and as we cast the film, I then began to expand it. So yeah, very much the characters are very much written around our leading cast, sort of not completely based on them, but written in collaboration and developed in collaboration.
So how did you meet these actors?
How do we meet? Well, when I started making the film, I really didn't have any connections in the Finnish film industry, because I'd lived in the UK for so long. So I just began by posting a Facebook casting ad, and was contacted by Jarno Pimpari from the Finnish Helsinki Gay Theatre, who was very interested in getting involved with the project, and he in fact happened to know both Janne and Boodi, and was able to recommend them to come into the auditions. So we did audition many other actors as well, but that's how we met.
So before I bring the actors in to ask them some questions, I just want to remind everybody that you can tweet along with the hashtag Peccadillo Sofa Club, and whatever various social media you're using, you can put questions, comments into that, and they will be funneled my way, and we'll be able to ask the actors and directors some questions. So I just want to turn to Boodi briefly. So Boodi, you are not a native Finn, am I right?
You're right.
How did I know?
I know.
You have a very, I think in terms of actors in Finland, performers in Finland, you have a very particular story about how you got there. So am I right in thinking that you come from Syria, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Doctor of Tarek, yeah. And did you go through the asylum process, or did you get into Finland before that, or is this very much kind of a little bit of your story as well?
Yeah, in so many points and ways, it is quite similar. I left Syria in 2012. Yes. So I lived in Beirut for a while, and from there I applied for an asylum through the UNHCR. And after a while, Finland was the first country who invited me to come to Finland. So it was quite random to come here in the beginning. But I got here, I already was kind of like invited. So I skipped this point where I would just come and seek asylum in Finland. So I had like a residency permit already, and it's kind of like my life started faster than a lot of other people, which is a privilege in that way.
But you must have found the process of relocating to Finland, even in I think better circumstances, it would have been quite a cultural difference for you.
Yeah, it was, and it has been quite different to come here. It's the culture is quite different, the climate is quite different. it's been taking a while. I've been here now for like a bit more than 5 years, and just now, like I feel sort of like, oh my God, like now I kind of like have a grip on the situation, and I know people, and I have really nice support system and cool friends, and I'm getting jobs, and I'm happy, you know. So it took a while to kind of, you know, get to this point.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people listening will be very happy to hear that, you know, you've made Finland your home, and I'm sure the Finnish are very happy as well to have you as well.
I hope so.
Good. Yeah, and I just want to invite Janne into the conversation as well. This is what I find very interesting is that both the character of Levi and the character of Tarek really have their own stories going on, and Finland means a lot of different things to both of them. It means kind of escape and safety for Tarek in some ways, and for Levi it kind of feels like he's returning to something that's too familiar, and it reminds him of a life that he doesn't want to have anymore. I mean, this is set in the countryside, and I don't know if this is any way familiar to the experience that you had when you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in the countryside, so I don't know. I wouldn't say that my experience is very close to Levi's experience, but I definitely recognize it. And it's like I recognize those attitudes and those difficulties that one might have when living in a countryside and feeling that this is not my place and I'm in a way or another too different to be here. And it happens a lot that young people from the countryside move, for example, to Helsinki or other bigger cities in Finland to escape in a way. But for me, I love, for example, now at the moment, I'm spending summer in my home area where I'm from. So I have I enjoy coming back also. I probably wouldn't like to move back here, but I don't have big issues about it.
Yeah, it's funny.
Don't move, Janne, don't. No.
No. I'm not planning to.
Yeah, when you get older, when you've had the experience of the city and your personality is formed, how the countryside is less intolerable than you remember it to be. In fact, it's kind of nice for small periods of time. I think a lot of queer people have had experiences of being back at their family home during the pandemic.
Yes.
I think a lot of people are kind of reinterpreting what it means or what it might mean. I won't go into my theories about what's going to happen when this is all over, but I think a lot of people have started buying plants, at least, that they haven't thought about doing before, that our appreciation of nature is coming to the fore a little bit. So I just want to ask Mikko that question, is that, I don't know, is this a little bit autobiographical? I didn't want to ask that so early on when I was asking the questions.
No, I wouldn't call it autobiographical in a sense, but there's definitely, what I would say is this personal in the sense that of course there's quite a bit of my experience in the experience of Levi, just for the beginning of the film, or the perspective at the start of the film. So the events of the film haven't happened to me, but similarly, like Levi, I left Finland sort of ostensibly to study abroad because I wanted to study English literature, but really it was also very much about escaping the small town that, back in 2007 was very, very, even overtly homophobic, and just not a place where I would have felt comfortable as myself at all. So and I kind of went beyond Helsinki and wanted to get abroad, but yes, the idea of coming back, as returning to Finland over the years, you kind of begin to you have that perspective. You begin to notice things that you used to take for granted before, that you appreciate. You notice other things that you criticize. So it's certainly that perspective of the main character is very much drawn from my experience.
Yeah, and I think there's a wonderful universality. It's often something we see in queer cinema, which is of either the person leaving or the person returning. And I think that narrative for me never really gets old, because it can be interpreted in many incredibly personal ways, but also in a kind of a universal experience. And also you have one of my favorite narratives is kind of the Teorema narrative of the stranger who comes into the lives of people. It's one of my favorite ones. So this film has quite a lot of things going for it. So it has the character who returns, but it also has the stranger who disrupts things. And I think in the case of Tarek's arrival, I mean, I think that Levy's relationship with his father was waiting to be disrupted, and it just needed someone to kind of come in there. I find the character of the father very fascinating. I mean, is he based on kind of a typical attitude we have to a Finnish man in a certain place of a certain age?
Certainly, I mean, I do like. I mean, he's like certainly a little bit stereotypical, I guess, but I think we can definitely recognize him. And he, I mean, again, it's not someone who's based on my family, of course, well, except for of course there are some details that I've drawn, but I wanted, I mean, with that character, I wanted to also represent what I was at the time incredibly worried about in Finnish society was this swell of xenophobia in 2015 in reaction to the arrival of a lot of asylum seekers, and where these people who perhaps had held very sort of latent racist views are suddenly that latent racism is coming to the surface, and I wanted to look at that character, and also in that father and son relationship, what was very important to capture was at the time I thought it was a very Finnish thing, but then touring with the film and seeing it with other audiences as well, I've realized that it's perhaps more universal than that. It's just the difficulty of communication between men of different generations, and how people don't talk about their feelings, how they are very much suppressed and harbored, and then can kind of burst out.
Before I open it up to the audience questions, which have been coming in, I've got a question that's both for you, Mikko, and for the actors as well. I think I said to you before that what I love about this film is that we get two nice, good sex scenes in it. And there's something about heterosexual, straight mainstream cinema which has become so afraid of sex on screen. And I know that television, at least in the English-speaking world, with things like Normal People, have changed that a little bit or disrupted it. But the idea of sex depicted on screen, I think often for me feels like it's kind of the duty of the queer filmmaker to both respond to what the audiences want to see, but also to depict happy, healthy, horny sexual relationships on screen. So my question for you is, how important was it to feature these scenes in the film? And for the actors, what was it like filming them?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so important to us. I mean, simply for the fact that we hadn't had a queer cinema in Finland. These kinds of scenes had never been shot in Finland. So it was. I think I told the actors from the start that we weren't going to compromise with that, and also because it was so integral to the story. I didn't feel like there was anything gratuitous about that, because it was to understand their connection. It's both emotional, but it's also carnal, and it's so important to see, to understand what's going on, and I very much just wanted to capture that authentically and honestly, and give the Finnish queer audiences, finally give them proper sex scenes.
Give the gays what they want. A good attitude. And Boodi's saying, don't give the gays what they want.
I was exactly that was what I'm saying.
I want more. What was it like? How well did you and Janne know each other before you did these scenes, or did Mikko make you film them on the first day of shooting?
It was maybe the fifth day of shooting, but like we knew each other a bit. Like, of course, we had already met in the audition and had like a couple of rehearsals before.
Not the sex scenes, but in general.
Yeah, rehearsing in general. Yes, not rehearsing the sex scenes. Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Boodi. Yeah, it was maybe the fifth day, and I don't know. We very openly discussed about it from the very beginning, and at least I felt that it was like very well handled by Mikko also. So it was, and it felt safe, and it felt good, and it was this like it wasn't problematic at all.
Good. You all felt happy on set. That's what we want to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, it was very much also because we've shot the film quite chronologically as well, which was part of the method as well, because I wanted to really, have track the characters' evolution in this relationship and with the actors' contribution to the dialogue as well. Even though we knew where the story was taking us, there were all kinds of nuances that we were building along the way. So. It was very natural to film chronologically, and that way as well. The first sex scene would then be sort of around the middle of the shoot or a little bit before.
Yeah. I've got some questions here from the audience. The first one comes from Meli Popelli, and Meli says, "Hi, I love the movie so much. Great. Question: what are your future projects, and what can we see? When can we see you on screen again?" I guess that's for everybody. Mikko, future projects?
Well, a few things, but currently I'm writing a feature to be shot in London, hopefully next year, about a writer. It's a queer film as well, who becomes sort of so caught up in the research for their novel that they begin to, in a way, lead the life of their protagonist, and it's this sort of this blurring of the identity of the writer and the character, and it's examining the relationship of the writer's life and their work, and questions like truth and fiction and things like that. So that will, I'm hoping to shoot that next year.
Good. Actually, I've got a question here for the which is more appropriate for the actors, which is from Robin Amari. It's for the actors, and it's, how did you two connect so well on screen?
We really did, like, looking now, and actually, like, while we were shooting, it was quite smooth. Now working, it doesn't happen all the time. You realize that, walking further. So for some reason, we really connected. I think the whole atmosphere was quite safe on set. We felt we can talk about anything, we can discuss anything before it happens. As like Janne said and Mikko said, like, even sex scenes, they felt like really part of the. We were all like somehow like on board of how things should be, and I think that mostly, like, feeling really safe and being able to connect on that level. I think that was really the most important thing for me at that point.
Yeah, and somehow feeling trusted, and like I can trust you, trust Mikko, I can trust the whole team, and it was like, But why? It's like, if the question is like, how did we? It's like, it's hard to answer.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, what caused it? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the way that we shot, it was so important for us to kind of foster that kind of collaborative, intimate atmosphere as well, and we didn't have a big crew or anything, so it was a very sort of collegial and everyone became friends during the couple of weeks that we shot. And
another question here is from Gavin, and Gavin asks, "I loved the ambiguous ending. what, if anything, do you think happens next with them? Or do you want to leave it ambiguous for that reason?
It's ambiguous for a reason. No, I mean, I don't. I mean, I want to leave it up to the viewer, personally. It's. I mean, we've had so many questions about the ending, and I mean, it's wonderful to know that people are so invested in the characters that they want to know. But I think, like life, what was very important to portray there is that life doesn't have neat endings, and that's why we wanted to have it. I wanted to have it very open.
Great.
Yeah.
And I've got a question here from, it's either Ralph or Rafe. I'm just going to say both, you know. And so Rafe/Ralph asks, how did you find that wonderful location?
It's happens to be my family lake house.
Because don't you all have lake houses in Finland, don't you? I learned that by accident when I came to Finland on 21st of June by accident and thought, oh my God, there's nobody in the city.
Yeah, that's true. It's part of the culture. Like almost every family has a lake house or something like that. Yeah.
And yeah, actually, I just realized like we met like exactly a year ago when you were in Finland on Midsummer, and there was like no one else. Like.
Yeah, because Boodi and I met independently of the film by chance. In Finland, yes, it was fun. You didn't come with us to Don't Tell Mama.
No.
Great time. I don't know about how you feel about your own gay bars, but I had a great time in Don't Tell Mama. DTM.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one more question. Oh wait, yes, we got one more question here, and this is from Robin, and then I'm going to wrap up. Robin asks, what was your favorite scene? I'm going to ask that to everybody. Mikko, you don't answer this because it's your movie. This is for the actors. What was your favorite scene to film?
Oh, this is difficult. Boodi, do you want to start?
It's really difficult, but I think now looking back and watching the film again, I really love like the vibe and the whole setting, the balcony scene, the terrace scene where like before the first kiss of Tarek and Lady. I really love that one so much. Oh.
And now I would like to answer the same, but I should give another answer. Well, I also like the scene in the boat, and I think for both of these scenes there's also a nice background story because it really wasn't that pleasant as it looks. It was very super cold in both nights, and we really needed to concentrate on like to be able to act.
You did an incredible job of pretending.
And not shiver. Yeah, we had like to pretend it's summer and we're like, you know, topless and enjoying this. You know, we were like shivering, like it's like, oh, how can I say this without like, you know? But I think looking back, it looks good.
We managed.
I just realized that we have more time than I thought, so I'm going to ask a question again.
Mm-hmm.
So, when the credits of this film come up, it says written and directed by Mikko, and then at the next card says additional dialogue by the actors. Was that because you know you were encouraged to do it, or was this something, Mikko, that you knew that would be happening from the start, that this collaboration would be there?
Yes, absolutely. So like I said, the working method meant that we were working from a so-called scriptment, which is like a cross between a script and a treatment. So the idea was that I had written a detailed outline of the film that included all the scenes and what would happen in each scene, sort of written as prose, and the beats of every scene, with some dialogue in there, but not a great deal. And then the idea from the start was that I would ask the actors to use their own words to improvise the scene, because I mean, yeah, it was a way of working that I was really wanting to use for a completely kind of different kind of authenticity and naturalism, really, especially because both were for most of the film not speaking in their first language. So what was also very important was that, or what I wanted to foreground was just the focus on the effort at communicating as well, so that when the actors were looking for the words, it was as if the characters were looking for them as well, and the kind of plane of the actors and the characters really converged there. So it was always the intention from the beginning that the actors would bring in their own contributions as well for that kind of naturalism.
And I've got a fun little question here from George, and George asks, if your characters were in lockdown right now, what would they be doing? So let's say Levi and Tarek have one night together. What would they be doing?
Together?
Yeah, together.
Do you need to ask?
George asked the question.
George, come on.
They'd be nailing things, wouldn't they? You know,
hammering.
They would just continue what they were doing. They would like finish the job probably.
Get the job done. Finally.
Yeah.
All right, enough of that. Here's the question for the actors. Okay, who would be, just as actors, this isn't kind of related to the film exactly, who would be your dream characters to play? As actors, who would you love to play in a film? Whoever knows the answer can go first.
Okay, I think I a little bit know. Yeah, like since the moment in the reads, I started to get like more jobs in TV and film and theater, and I feel like it's the roles that have been like offered to me are quite I love them and they're very interesting, but like most of the times I'm placed in the like a refugee, immigrant, terrorist, asylum seeker type of place, and of course like all these projects I love and they were really, I'm happy that I did them, but I really like wish that the day would come and where I would do some other character where it doesn't have to be like so much emphasized where they are from. And yeah, that's why I'm actually now writing my own film with my really good friend. We've been friends for 12 years. His name is Khalid Al-Wara. And we're kind of like writing about like our story, being friends and being apart for so many years and like reuniting again here in Finland. And I realized, like there's so many stories I would like to tell and I would like to portray, and I would like to, represent. And I'm quite happy about that, and I'm quite happy that I finally like did the first steps to do that, because I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Because at some point it just feels, it's maybe if no one giving me, the characters I want, maybe I just would create them myself.
Yeah. Or would you like to play against type? Would you like to play like a straight dad or something?
I actually like now playing like a straight man who has like 2 kids and like a wife. But they are Syrian and they're like on their way to Sweden being smuggled, but then they stop in Finland and a lot of things happen. The TV show called Cargo, and we're actually currently shooting at the moment.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's strange to play that. No.
Do you have the range? Can you play straight?
Apparently I can. Like apparently it's apparently, yeah, it's been going well. But Janne didn't say about his dream character.
Yeah, what's Janne going to say?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question. Boodi gave like such a good answer. I don't have anything that clear on mind. It's like I would love to play, like the more the better, like the more different kind of characters, the better for me. And it like I believe that you can find something interesting from any character that you get. But of course, it's always nice if there's also something else written in the character, not only the surface. Not only the surface. Of course, you can build it by yourself, even if the script is bad. It's like you can create the person behind there. But like, yeah, any character, if it's well written, it's nice to act. Also, I want to comment. It's because many people ask if maybe Boodi, you get this question as well. But like, that are you afraid that you would now get only gay characters? And it's like, well, first, why would I be afraid? Like, I don't mind if that's the case, then why not? And but also, how do you play sexual orientation? I personally don't see it as a thing that you can play. You can play connection with your co-actor, and it can be like whoever, but like sexual orientation is something that it's in you. It's not necessarily something that you need to act out.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. Playing straight, playing gay, being typecast. I mean, there's positives and negatives for all these things about being who you are on screen, but that's acting after all, isn't it? You're playing a different role. I mean, Janne, I could see you on board a spaceship, okay, commanding an army on a spaceship. What do you think? I can see.
I'm tuning in, like.
Janne's on a spaceship, controlling some kind of army of robots. I like it.
I'd love to see that.
Maybe it's the same movie. I don't know. And we got two questions to wrap up here. And these are I'm going to save. There's a nice little one for the end. But this is a good question. Since we're all here, Sunny has a question for I believe it's probably for Mikko, which is any tips for independently making a feature? And that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
That's a very good question. I mean, the first main answer is don't ask for permission, in the sense that you can make a film with very limited resources, and you can absolutely. It's about using. I mean, technology is so accessible nowadays. You can think of a story around the limitations that you have, and also turn those limitations into your strength. I mean, with this film, I set out to write a film around the summer cottage, the one location mainly, and it can lead to something that at first might seem like a limitation can actually lead to like such creative richness and all kinds of sources of tension and everything. So really, it would be to just kind of follow your gut and don't wait for someone to give you permission to make a film. Use your voice and do it.
Yeah, because even though this is set in one location, I think I see a lot of queer films in my line of work, and a little often I say, "Oh, it feels like a play," and even though this is set in the one location, it doesn't feel like a play to me, and I think that's probably its strength as a piece of cinema as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome. And we have last question here, which I think is nice, which is how has the film traveled around the world? Like, how has it been received? And which is for everybody, but also I'm kind of wondering for the actors. I think a lot of time with queer cinema, you get a kind of a lot of very personal responses that have come your way. So what have kind of people's responses been to you, to the actors? And Mikko, so what has the response been maybe internationally as a filmmaker?
Janne, do you want to start?
Yep.
Well, I think we all, like as Mikko said before, like during the festival tour already, we were like quite positively surprised that it seemed to be very well received everywhere. And even though we were thinking that it's very, very Finnish, it seemed to be quite international actually, and like people were able to relate to it, to the characters and the story. And yeah, the feedback. There seems to be many people watching the film still, like especially during the lockdown. I've received many messages in Instagram and Facebook and email and stuff, and it feels really, really good. And it's always so big pleasure to read how people find it important and how they seem to relate to it. But it's hard to say. I don't know what to pick up. Boodi, do you want to say something?
Yeah, like, I agree with everything you said. And, it's like it has been really wonderful to see, like, how people from different countries have been watching the film and, like, sending, like, taking the time and sending a message and, just to say how much they could, like, relate to the film and to the characters and so on. That's, like, very rewarding. Like, it's the best thing, and this is the beauty with film, that it lives, it's amazing that we're now doing this after 2 years of the film has been released already. But like recently it's been like my soft point that like a lot of Arabic speaking people have found the film, and I've been receiving a lot of messages from young people from the Middle East, just talking how much like they relate to Tariq and how much they have been living in a, like in tight and oppression, and like they can't be themselves and they would really like to, and they think it's very empowering to see such characters, which also there's really almost none, and I'm really happy, like, because A Moment in the Reeds, it's one of like the first films in Finland that portrays like such characters, but also Tariq is like one of the first like Arabic speaking characters in gay characters in cinema, and like with all that, I know I can't believe that I did this. I'm so happy that I could get this honor and do this, because we really need way more. Please, people, do more Arabic queer cinema, because there's a lot of stories to be told.
Yeah, no, I don't have much to add to that. It really it's been so often like very touching. Yeah, going around receiving messages from very lots of different places about how the film has touched people, and that it's something that, I mean, you set out to make a film to communicate something, but then it was I still found it almost surprising by how much it touched some people. So yeah, I mean it's been really humbling in a sense.
Great. Such a nice way to kind of finish up the conversation with that positivity. So before I thank the participants, I just want to say that next week's film is Who's Afraid of Vagina Wolf, and that will be moderated by Rowan Ellis, also a Fringe, I believe. And no, not a Fringe, different Rowan. Rowan Ellis. Thanks. Yay, Rowan, go ahead. Go on, Rowan. Yes, we love you. And I just want to say a big thank you to Peccadillo Sofa Club, Peccadillo, who have been at the forefront of bringing queer film to Britain and internationally. We love you, Pekka. Where would we be without you? And I just want to say a big thank you to the director of Moment in the Reeds, Mikko Makela. Thank you, Mikko.
Thank you very much.
We have the wonderful actors, Janne and Boodi. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my God. Phones ringing. Where was I?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
I was having tender moments.
Thank you.
Tender moments.
Thank you very much for having us. Really, really lovely.
It was great. It was great. Just down to the last minute. Thanks so much, everybody.